When was the last time you sat down for a brief moment to do some inner reflection, some self-reflection? When was the last time you thought to yourself, have I really been true to what I'm doing in life? Have I really been true to myself lately with the people and the company that I keep? Well, when you think about those things and you're new to yoga, you're actually applying some of the moral restraints and the interpersonal reflections that we use on a daily basis in our own personal journey off the mat. And that word is a subterm from the yamas called Satya, truthfulness. So when we apply this in our personal practice, on our personal journey through yoga, you simply think about how often and at what space do we choose to be truthful. In the Eastern perspective, Satya, which is Sanskrit for truthfulness or the essence of being true, you cultivate that authenticity, that integrity within yourself and showing it outwardly to others. And it is really important on doing that because of the fact that when you choose not to be that way, people instantly pick up on it. We think about pretending or putting on a mask when it's more helpful to be yourself, as well as knowing how to perceive when you are being deceived or being lied to, essentially. So how can you apply that in your own personal journey? Continue to be true to yourself. You want to think about operating from that mindset of, I choose to present myself as I am and not put on a facade or put on a mask to show an individual that I want you to like me, or I want to be received in this way because I don't feel like I get that type of attention that I feel like I so rightfully deserve. And although we are deserving of kindness, we're deserving of good faith, we're deserving of anything that is meaningful and well to us, sometimes in this ugly world that we do live in, this world of takers, this world of people who choose just not to be a kind individual, we don't get those things. So sharing a fresh perspective on just trying to imply to be true to yourself and know how to identify when you're being deceived, you can think of applying your yoga practice in this way. When you're on the mat and you're doing a yoga pose, when you go to a class or a studio and you're actually doing a yoga pose and you show up to that class where you're amongst others, are you doing the pose that feels most comfortable at the present moment? Or are you forcing yourself in a manner that ends up harming you or injuring you in the future? That's pretty common, but it's a fresh perspective because when we do yoga asana, there are many times where we will do the same pose every day or do a similar pose at a different time of the week. Let's say you have a 3-day practice, and you choose to do those same postures, the same sequence for those 3 days. You notice your body responds differently on those days. So one day you may find yourself in the full expression of a posture, and the other day you may feel limited by maybe a tight muscle or a small injury, or maybe your body's just not ready to do that same posture on the other side. Are you going to push yourself, or are you going to say, I'm meeting myself where I'm at the present moment? That's how you can identify on the mat how to be true to yourself. Now let's apply that to untruthfulness or deceit from somebody who is engaging with us. You have somebody that can be a pathological liar. You can have somebody who just chooses to be untruthful, deceitful, or just not an honest individual because they may be operating out of fear. That just may be ingrained in them, and there's no profound reason on why they are who they are. You have the capacity to know and identify the truth, the untruth, and somewhere in the middle where you know the truth really, really lies, right? So we choose to have discernment. and knowing how to operate in the ebbs and flows of life on what's ultimately true. So you had multiple perspectives that I shared in this particular moment on how truthfulness can be applied to your life. But typically we don't think about those things on the mat when we're moving in our hatha class, our vinyasa class, those classes that require more dynamic movement versus those more stationary postures, or those more restorative classes that allows us to fully be still for long periods of time, compared to hatha yoga, which may only last for a few rounds of breath, compared to vinyasa, where you may, or the more speedier classes where you're literally moving from posture to posture with one breath. So, and that's how you can apply that on the mat. And again, I gave that perspective of off the mat, where you choose to be true to yourself, of course, but also how you can apply that when you are amongst individuals who choose not to be an honest person. Now, of course, that will also apply to you as well. Are you choosing to operate out of fear, or are you just going to be present and choose to be an honest individual, whether you are wrong or not, in the way we go about life? So, for example, we go to the airport to get our bags checked. We know the standard protocol. We go up to the associate to get our bags weighed. We choose to place our bag on the scale, and we use our foot to secretly lift some of that weight off. It's funny, but it's not funny. It's comical because of the nature of how people are actually kind of smart, but it's in the wrong space. So we choose to be deceitful in that manner, and it's not healthy. Now, granted, we have our reasons on why we do what we do. I've personally never done that, so don't use that I as a quick change, because it wasn't intentional. But we have the reasons of why we do what we do, and sometimes we have to choose to do the right thing and either accept what we choose or internally want to resist, or fear, or something else that may make us uncomfortable. So we can apply Satya in that way. We can apply Satya on and off the mat. And if you want to know how we can check in to that mindset of Satya, truthfulness, and the story behind trying to save a few bucks from getting your bags checked based off the weight, you can check out this video here where we cover asteya, non-stealing. I'll catch you over there shortly.